gallery walks where one of the students will be pretending to be a slave there in front of the gallery, in front of the pictures, like explaining what he has gone through.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah, and so strongly influenced by the Douglas narrative, of course.
So
Were the library books ones that you had found in the public library, or?
Yeah.
Because I know one of the problems is
Yeah.
lack of availability of a school library.
Exactly. Since we don't have a school library, I have been printing out the Douglas narratives. Everything is printed out in packets, and I went to 2 different public libraries in the area and picked up a bunch of books. So we have those for the next 2 weeks or so, and then I can just extend that if I need to.
Oh, good.
So and then the students have a printout of so they can make their citations as they go, notes.
Right. I should have asked you about that, because I actually have access to the library that's nearest James Lick, because that's
Right
part
across
of
the
it.
street.
Right.
Yeah, and all of the abolitionist books are out of there because I have them.
Good.
So,
Oh, good.
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Some other things that went well. I really like how they are thoughtful about how to persuade. I think I mentioned that actually. And some of the groups are working really well. So they've defined. I had a specific set of roles, and they've been actually using them, which is better than earlier this year. So I've seen improvement there.
Right.
And then some of the groupings, I grouped them based on who hadn't worked together yet and who they wanted to work with.
Oh, okay.
And also based on some skill and social aspects.
Right.
So, and I thought some of them did really well based on those groups. While some of them I found can have dark difficulties based on who I placed.
Right, yes, I remember us talking about that earlier in this semester, that groups as a whole seemed to get better, but there were some groups that just fed off one another in the wrong sort of way. Right. And then the countering?
Time management is one of my ongoing struggles. Especially with instruction, so I worked on that to kind of pull myself away from instruction and give the work to the students.
Good for you.
And then scaffolding those timelines is something that I've been working on. Those the shorter deadlines.
Oh, good, the mini deadlines.
Yeah, the mini deadlines, and I've been trying to do that for each team, since each team is doing a different type of publication.
Oh, interesting.
It's been sort of hard to do, so I'm just trying to meet with the teams. This last week I had each team kind of meet with me at a table.
Right.
It was like cleared off, we put what they had on and looked at it and said, okay, what's the next step?
Right.
So I think that starting that earlier would have been best.
Right.
Kind of cycling through quickly and saying, okay, what are you doing? What's your next step? And having them take on the responsibility of coming to me and saying, okay, here's what we have, here's where we're going.
Right, taking a more proactive stance, and that's one, of course, that was one of the things I was intimating in that section of the formative evaluation, is how important it is to be proactive in that area. But that's fascinating, Jennifer. I've actually never heard, even among experienced teachers, that business of setting up deadlines that are specifically appropriate to individual groups. Is tough to do when you're going to be teaching 5 classes, but you tend to, some of those nice customized versions of your teaching do have to go by the wayside. But for the purposes of this, I think of this particular class, and might be something you're able to do in the future as well. It seems to be an ideal connection. But yes, get the groups coming to you. Don't wait for them.
Yeah, the differentiation is definitely takes time, and having something where I'm not, like, I originally was going to do a different rubric for each group.
Right.
But I thought, that doesn't work that'll be difficult to do in the long run in the future when I have all different classes.
Right.
So making one like this and saying, how does yours react? How does yours fit in? And then so I could do the same thing with them, like have a graphic organizer that's simple, so that they can take control in that way.
Sure, and it's always possible to develop a rubric that's broad and comprehensive enough so you can say, here are the elements of this rubric, or the categories of this rubric that are most pertinent to your project. So these are the ones I want you to focus on.
Another thing I noticed was was just having reading for homework. It's really tough for me to really guide them in that and motivate them with the reading.
Right.
So having a little bit more group activities, like more group activities with reading as the central focus, which we did with the poster activities in the beginning, and that worked well. And I wish I had continued that and said maybe each focus for those deadlines could be paired with a chapter of the book or something like that. So that that's driving the reading and it's informing the reading, which is my goal.
Yes.
So that it's not parallel but integrated more.
Right. Yes, I think you're dead on that perception that you'll get a higher return rate for homework of any sort, but reading in particular, if it's quite directly tied to what you're doing in class. And as you say, if it moves the students in individual groups forward one step, it's tough to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And without that incentive, it's very, very hard to get students. Because some students will have found the Douglas narrative more important for their group work. Others won't have found it particularly important. Some of them will have gotten enough in the first chapter to last them quite sufficiently for their project in their own eyes. So yeah, that's a good point. So there are lots of things. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then I just wanted to also note that I found the videoing class awkward. I wish I had done it more before, not just on my phone, which I did, but also with the tripod and everything. Because once I set up the tripod, it's like, it was a little more invasive for them. So I did wish that I had kind of checked it out for 2 weeks or 1 week, and then earlier, and then because there's a limit to how long you can have it, then checking it out another time.
Right.
And then I noticed that an ongoing issue that I have is that just having, and I'm realizing this as I'm going through my formative assessment class, just improving formative assessment in general, but also in making sure that I'm giving them feedback quickly, but also when I'm assessing the knowledge of the class or the kind of engagement and just the class when we're in a group setting. Not just having a few students talk.
Yes.
So I've been trying to have the students first before just yelling out an answer or raising their hands really quickly, just a few of them. I'll have the whole class do a pair share and then a share out, and then I've started asking more students like, hey, will you volunteer your answer?
Right.
So that I get more voices in the class.
Right. And also giving students an opportunity to, or making sure as a teacher that students have something to say before you ask them.
That pause time.
Right. I think we're going to have to bring this interview to a close, Jennifer, just because of the time we have to do these interviews. But thank you very much.
All right, thank you.